The word cannibal, which means to prey on humans, was invented by Columbus, who discovered the new continent of America. He thought he had arrived in India, in Asia, and mistook the natives of this region for descendants of Khan, king of the Mongol Empire, and called them Canibas. Columbus heard from a neighboring tribe of Canibas that the Canibas prey on humans, and as this rumor spread throughout Europe, the word cannibal became a word for human-eating people. Of course, later these rumors were found to be false, but the meaning remains to this day. But now, it raises the question of whether a cannibal group has ever really existed in the history of mankind. There cannot be such thing as cannibalism in the present world, and it is a strongly condemned act lawfully and morally. But looking back at the history of mankind, cannibalism appears sporadically. Dr. Sylvia Bello of the Museum of London in England discovered the remains of a modern human dated to 14,700 years ago in a canyon located in the southwest of England. Several bone fragments discovered at that time had human tooth marks, and considering that some skull fossils had a smooth finish like bowls, they argued that cannibalism existed back then. It's easy to think that cannibalism happened in the old days, but actually, cannibalism existed until quite recently, in the 1150s, when some fossilized feces have been found at the American Indian archaeological site in the southwest Colorado of the United States. Dr. Richard Marler identified myoglobin protein in them and published a paper titled Biochemical Evidence of Cannibalism in the journal Nature in 2000. In addition, in 2013, evidence of cannibalism was found in Jamestown, where Europeans settled down in the United States in the early 17th century. When the anthropologist Dr. Doug Osley discovered the fossil skull of a 14-year-old girl who had been brutally mutilated at the Jamestown archaeological site and said, "These traces showed that people cut off the flesh for food and perforated the skull to take out and eat the brains." In fact, according to documents describing the situation of Jamestown in 1609, the village totally ran out of food and immigrants started eating dogs and cats first, and then rats, snakes, and even the leather of shoes. As the starvation got worse, people dug up graves, no matter English or Indian, and ate even the dead. Such cannibalism also happened in the 20th century. In 1972, the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 plane crashed into the Andes Mountains, and the survivors didn't have another choice but to eat the bodies of their dead colleagues in order to survive. This incident became one of the most famous stories of cannibalism and was made into a movie as well. But can we say that cannibalism existed in human history simply based on these stories? The answer is no. Many anthropologists say that cannibalism may have occurred in funeral ceremonies, extreme circumstances, and for socio-cultural reasons. But a cannibal group that ate habitually humans merely for nutritional purposes has never existed in human history. It makes perfect sense because, from an evolutionary point of view, cannibalism is an act against survival. If we think about it, there's a very simple reason. It is not easy for humans to hunt prey of the same species with similar physical conditions and intellectual ability. It is easier to hunt animals such as rabbits or deer than hunting same humans. In other words, hunting is less efficient. This kind of behavior can also be seen in the world of other animals, but unless it's in specific situations such as mating, breeding, and extreme stress, the act of habitually preying on the same species is not common even in the animal world. And another reason to not eat human flesh is that it's not very effective nutritionally speaking either. In 2017, Dr. James Cole from the University of Brighton in England conducted a bizarre study that analyzed the nutritional properties of human flesh. In his thesis, he stated that based on a 55 kilograms man, the values are the thighs 13,350 kilocalorie, the heart 650 kilocalories, the liver 2,570 kilocalories, the pair of kidneys 350 kilocalories, and the lungs 1,600 kilocalories. Regarding this matter, Dr. Cole concluded in his study that while one human flesh could feed 25 men for half a day, if you catch one mammoth with 3,600,000 kilocalories of muscle, the same group can survive for 2 months. To sum up, Dr. Cole argued that a group that practiced cannibalism habitually for nutritional purposes would not have existed in the history of human evolution, and that most of the evidence of cannibalism found on fossils is due to socio-cultural reasons, such as religious or funeral rites. And the biggest drawback that many scientists are pointing out about cannibalism is the disease. Viruses, bacteria, and parasites are much more infectious between the same species. For example, for a virus from a bat to infect a human, the viral gene must suffer some mutation. But humans can infect each other directly without any virus mutation. It means that the act of eating the own species can lead to disease infection. As a matter of fact, Dr. Milan from India conducted a study related to this, and he made experiment participants smell the feces of 13 species of mammals, including humans, pigs, and cows, among others, and then analyzed which smell they were most disgusted by. The results were very amusing. Most people responded that human excrement smells the worst. The second most disgusting excrement was pigs, which share a variety of parasites with humans, and the feces of animals with fewer parasites that infect humans, such as cows, felt less repulsive, the study showed. Evolutionary biologists explain that, as the excrement of the same species contains the highest number of parasites that could infect them, humans instinctively avoid disease by perceiving the smell of their own species' excrement as the most disgusting. As the results of this study show, if even the excrement has this effect, eating meat like the brain or muscles of the same species inevitably increases the risk of disease infection. Consequently, cannibals who habitually practice cannibalism have difficulty surviving in nature. Actually, there is a representative case of cannibalism leading to disease called Kuru disease, which impacted many people in the 1950s. A primitive tribe called the Forest lived in Papua New Guinea, and in the 1950s a rare disease plagued the entire tribe. People with this disease had all the muscles so weakened they couldn't stand up straight or eat anything, and suffered from extreme shivering until eventually died of pneumonia. At that time, people named this disease Kuru, meaning shivering, and women were more prone to it. But back then, many medical scientists tried to find out the cause of the disease, without success. And, in 1957, Daniel Godusek, an American pediatrician, discovered that cannibal customs were causing this disease. The Forest people used to perform peculiar funeral rites, where they cut off the deceased person's hands and feet, and take out the brain and organs. Then men eat the flesh and women the brains and organs. It turned out that there was a substance called a prion, which causes Kuru disease in the brains. That's why, among all the tribe members, the women who prepared or ate the brains of the deceased were more affected by Kuru. Prion is a substance that destroys brain cells. It is just a protein without DNA or RNA, but it is a deadly substance that progressively affects the brain by altering surrounding normal proteins. Kuru disease is a perfect example of how vulnerable cannibalism is to disease infection. And if there was ever a cannibal group who habitually practiced cannibalism, they probably would be extinct due to diseases. The ethical, social, and cultural approach to why cannot eat humans is also relevant. But this time we were able to find out that eating humans is not a good choice even from a scientific point of view.